I got, I was close to taking Brother Steve up on his offer yesterday with Rochelle and the kids all sick. He said he'd take care tonight if I wanted to, and I could take care next week. And I asked Rochelle about it first, but knowing in my heart what I needed the answer to be. And she confirmed it, and she said it will be all right if we stay home. We're just going to be listless and just not doing much, so go. And I texted Steve and I said, I'll be there. I don't know if what's stirring can wait another week. And it's already been a fruitful day. We had a fantastic time this afternoon. God's been a lot on my mind, and we're gonna journey a little bit. So if you follow along, I'm gonna tell you a story and ask you a couple questions as God leads, and we're gonna get somewhere tonight. And it's amazing how powerful this past month has been. We'll even go prior to fast, because it took us a while to prepare for that time. It took us a while to get to that point where we could say, all right, giving this up, I need some more of God. Well, if you didn't get what you asked for yet, like we said earlier, it's not over. You don't have to put an end date or an end time on what is to come and what effort you're going to put in to get the fruit out of it. The more faithful you are watering that garden, feeding that garden, the more fruitful it is. The more faithful you are at watering and feeding yourself with the Word of God. Not watering yourself down, mind you, but truly filling yourself up with that seed and allowing it to sprout. And life is good. But what happens when you get tired of waiting? We're going to start out Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. Now, how quickly did we look forward to getting done with the fast? That's not the moral of the story, but the question of the night is, how quickly were we looking forward to being done with the fast? And to what extent did that mess with our minds, and to what extent did that possibly affect the outcome of that fast? Exodus 19:5 says, "Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine." The Bible tells me that peculiar people also means personal property to God. This is a time where Israel was at Mount Sinai, and the Lord was speaking to Moses and giving him these things to give to his people. He told Moses to tell his people this: obey, keep my covenant, you will be mine. And the people answered together, in verse 8 it said, "All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do." Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Moses said, "Lord, they said they do it. They said that they do it. Every word that you spoke, they're going to do it. And they're going to follow through. Yeah. Because they said they would." Yes. You got no reason to doubt them, do you? I mean, come on, Lord. Moses, little do you know what's coming. Now, in the days to come, in the weeks to come, Moses continues to receive from the Lord, and Moses continues to deliver to his people. Exodus 20:23. Something, I guess you could say foreboding in a sense, but the people may not know this yet. The Lord clearly tells Moses, "Tell my people, ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall you make unto gods of gold." Don't do it. Not okay. Right. It's going to bring you nothing but trouble. Now, you know, if we just give God credit where credit is due, and if we just accept what He says when He says it, and we just follow through with what we say we're going to do, amen, it's going to be okay. Right. But once we stop doing what we say we're going to do, bad things happen. Right. Exodus 24:3. We're skipping I'm taking into account that you probably know most of the story here. We're skipping ahead to get to the point. And Lord, what a point. Exodus 24:3 says, and Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. He told the people everything that the Lord told him, including, don't make anything with gold. Don't make anything with silver. Don't make those images. Don't make those gods. Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice. And they said, all the words which the Lord hath said, we will do. We got this. It's easy so far. What can go wrong? We're preparing ourselves. Well, the Lord's going to keep stirring the pot. He's going to continue to prepare you. Are you ready to be prepared? Are you ready to be refined? Are you ready to have all that trash melt away from you so you can be refined and purified? Maybe not. All the words we will do. Now, to the oh so bittersweet Exodus 32. Moses disappears for 40 days. He's up on the mount talking to the Lord. The Lord is giving him instruction upon instruction. He's giving him everything, all of these, the laws, the judgments. He's giving him all these descriptions. And the people, what are they doing? They're just, we said we'd do what the Lord would do. What are we doing out here? What are we doing? Do you know what we're doing? Do you know what we're doing? I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where Moses is. And the people, when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together under Aaron and said unto him, hey Aaron, I need you to do something for me. We don't seem to have a God, so we need one. Aaron, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him. Never mind the God that supported and provided Moses' way and provided all of the account in which he was able to bring us up out of Egypt. But this man who did all these things has disappeared. So Aaron, we need a God. But you told God that you would do all the things that Moses said to you that came straight from the Lord. Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them to me. Aaron just says, well, let's just make the people happy. Because that's what we like to do in life. We like to make the people happy. Even if it's contrary to something we believe, even if it's just on that line where I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but it's going to make you smile, so let's go for it, okay? So I'm approaching this time of fasting. We're trying to pray and decide what we're going to do, what we're going to fast, and we made our decision. I'm not a fun, hungry person to be around. My body would not take a full-on 7-day, 8-day fast. But God, I told Pastor Steve, He was faithful and He was generous, and He was able to put on Rochelle and I's hearts the same thing to fast, just put us together in unity. So I had a teammate. Accountability partner. Somebody who can hear me when I say, well, I'm going to do everything I told the Lord I'm going to do. They can hold me accountable for it. There were thousands of people up on this mountain who said, we're going to do what you told me to do, God. We're not going to make anything out of gold. We're not going to make any graven images. We're going to rest upon you. Where'd Moses go? I don't know. Aaron, come here. No. Okay. I got to keep track of where. Verse 4 says, and he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool. After he had made it a molten calf, and they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
Wow. Disgusting.
I don't have the best memory, but if I'm going to make a promise such as that, if I'm going to be listening to what the Lord says, if I've seen the things that they've seen, Where did the faith go?
Yeah, that's right.
If you've seen the things that you've seen and heard the testimony and the miracles that you've seen in this church, not even inside this church, but all the things that God has brought in our lives,
Right.
where did the faith go that you can't last 8 days?
Yeah. Come on.
Where did the faith go that you have to limit it to 8 days?
Yeah. Yes.
These be thy gods, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. I'm following a cow.
Yeah.
And it's an adolescent at that.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid it. You know? Aaron said, let's do this, basically. Verse 7, the Lord knows. The Lord's up there talking to Moses, giving him instruction. And the Lord looks around and he sees what's going on. He says, Lord said unto Moses, go get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves.
Yeah.
They've gone against everything that we just got done talking to them about, Moses. Get down there and take care of it. Verse 8 said, they have turned aside quickly out of the way which I have commanded them. They have made them a molten calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. You think God's not watching?
Oh, yes.
Do you think that there is anything that enters into my brain that he doesn't know about?
Come on.
I like what Pastor Steve had said just not too long ago about his automobile. All the things that he could have done and could have not said about what was wrong with it. And whoever he was speaking to would have never known the difference, possibly. But the one that matters still knows.
That's right.
He was able to describe exactly what they did because he's there when we don't think he is. And heaven forbid when we may not want him to be watching. I don't ever want him to not be watching my life. Keep an eye on me, Lord.
Yes.
Moses intercedes for Israel, and at the end of that, Moses goes down. Verse 19. It says, Moses comes down, and says that it came to pass as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing. And Moses' anger waxed hot. After he just got done relieving the Lord of some of his anger and getting him to just say, wait a minute, Lord. Moses sees what's really going on here. The people that he left, the people that he had listened to God for, after putting up a fight, mind you, but he led them out, and then he leaves them alone. And he sees this, and his anger waxed hot. He cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. That right there is some anger to just cast aside that which the Lord hath wrought, and the tables which, that's pretty severe anger to just, we got a fuse. We may get angry on occasion. We may get, but that when you know that you've been betrayed for a calf because they didn't know where you went. I just told you to wait here for me. The Lord said, wait here. I'll be back. You got to stay. I will return. Verse 20. He took the calf. You want to talk about some consequences. He took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire and ground it to powder, strawed it upon the water, and then made the children of Israel drink of it. You want this thing so bad? Here, have a taste. That's not quite the same as having your cake and eating it too. That's a whole another level. But Moses was angry. I told you what the Lord had said, and you said you would do everything that he had told us to do, right? He commissioned you to do blank for 8 days. You were faithful in that. How quickly were you excited to get back out of it, though? And is that still complete faithfulness to start looking back or looking towards what you gave up?
Yeah. Come on. You're right, brother.
This is where we're going tonight. How faithfulness through the fast is fantastic. The testimonies that we've heard have been wonderful. But Friday came along. Man, I can't wait to see me get me some Golden Corral on Monday. It's only Friday. You got 3 days left. Why would you enter into that kind of temptation to yourself?
Yeah, it's true.
Why would you take... That's the flesh. The flesh says, I could use me a steak. The flesh says, I could use anything right now. If you do the complete fast, you might be happy with dirt. I don't know. But were you faithful to the end? And are you still faithful now? Moses asked Aaron what happened. Aaron told him exactly what happened. Well, we didn't know where you were. They said, come make me a calf. I made him a calf. You didn't see a problem with this? Do you not realize the things that the Lord was telling me to do for you and your family when I got back down here? No, you didn't hold out. It says to run the race. But did you really run the race? You made a calf just because they wanted you to. Consequences. Moses said in verse 25, he saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked under the shame among their enemies. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. All the sons of Levi gathered themselves together. And he said unto them, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from the gate to gate throughout the camp. Slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day about 3,000 men. You said to the Lord that you be faithful. We're taught. We've got a New Testament to refer to now. They didn't have that. But we're taught to count the cost before we undertake. We're taught to prepare ourselves for what we undertake. If we're going to undertake an 8-day fast where we're going to have nothing but salad, if we're going to have nothing but liquid, if we're going to have nothing but insert blank, whatever the Lord put on your heart to fast, or whatever He put on your heart to get rid of, social media, that was a popular one, and whatever He put on your heart to get rid of, faithful. We can only do so much for those around us. When it comes down to it, no matter how hard we plead, it's up to them to choose their path. Moses tried. Verse 31 says, and Moses returned unto the Lord and said, oh, this people, they've sinned a great sin and made them gods of gold. 32, yet now if thou wilt forgive their sin, sigh, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book, which thou hast written. Lord, just take me. The Lord said unto Moses, whosoever hath sinned against me, him I will blot out of my book. Did you count the cost? Did you count on that being a possibility? When you didn't share your story, did you count on that being a possibility? To someone that you love, that you hold dear, someone in your life that you haven't had an opportunity to touch yet because you haven't taken that first step. It doesn't have to be here. I carry a Bible with me all the time. Let me tell you how wonderful Jesus is. It starts with the simplest motion. But just like Moses, we can't go to God and say, it's my fault they're not here. Just take me. You didn't tell them what you should have told them. They didn't accept what they should have accepted. That's hard. Think about everything that we have to look forward to in this life. Now, I've got there's a bright way to look at this. They're faithful to the end. When we fasted, what did we give up? Why did you give it up if you were so eager to get back to it? Because you wanted God to take it away completely from you? Because you wanted to, it was taking up too much of your time? Because it was something that you held dear? Why were you so excited to get back to it? Couldn't you last that 8 days? Couldn't you last an hour? Matthew 26, when Jesus is in the garden, he says, he brought Peter and the two sons of Zebedee with him. And in verse 40, he came back after praying. And he said, and he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep, and said unto Peter, what? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Why couldn't you go the distance? Watch and pray that you may not enter, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. Steadfast. Watch and pray that ye may not enter into temptation. He went again. He asked for that cup to pass by, but thy will be done, Lord. He came back and found them asleep again. They didn't hold out. They held out, but they didn't. Sometimes there's no two ways about it. Now, when you fall asleep, what good is it? We talk about how people pray and the best time to pray. You know, people pray at different times. If you fall asleep praying, maybe you should pick a different time to pray. If you have trouble following through, analyze that. What's giving you the trouble to follow through? Are you looking too far ahead to get back to what you once had? Lord help me. John 16:33. Jesus was teaching in parables, and the disciples said, "Will you please just speak plainly with us?" He already told them, "I will speak plainly with you one day." The disciples said, "Please just speak plainly with us now." He said, verse 31 says, Jesus answered, said, "Do you now believe? Behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered every man to his own, and shall leave me alone, and yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me." Verse 33 says, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Not you. In the world you'll have tribulation. Looking for the world, you're going to continue to have tribulation. Looking forward to what you fasted, looking forward to getting back to what you gave up. That's not faithfulness. That's, I'm going to give it up for this span of time so that I can have more time to do that with God for 8 days. But after that, I'm going back to right what I was doing. He said you'll have tribulation if you stay in that world. Be of good cheer. I've already overcome the world. In me, you'll have peace.
Amen.
Where else do you get it? There is nowhere else. One more section and we're done, all right? This has been on my heart since about Tuesday of the fast. I told you I don't make a very happy or fun, hungry person. It was the first time in my life, Sunday I started out to fast, I didn't have anything except for a little bit of water for 24 hours. And I can thank God and say that was not the easiest 24 hours of my life, but such peace came over me because of I was so excited for the week. That's not anything to pump me up or get prideful or anything. That's testimony to God, because anybody you ask my wife how I go if I don't eat. And you ask her how I had been all week. But He overcame the world and gave us peace. I didn't give any thought really to food on Sunday because I was too busy wanting to be as close to Him as I could be.
Amen. Yes.
I want that every day, and I want to be faithful. Come about Friday, I started thinking about this. I started thinking about, well, when the fast is over, and as soon as I started thinking, what am I going to have when this fast is over? And it occurred to me, that's not faithfulness. That's just putting something off to the side to make temporary time for the Lord. He doesn't get temporary time. He doesn't get a couple hours on Sunday, a couple hours on Wednesday. Why can't he have what we owe him?
Well, there's only 24 hours in the day, and I've got, just so much I've got to get done. I got to provide.
He knows we have to provide for our families.
Yeah, he does.
We all have that same time frame to live through and to work through and to occupy. What we do with it or don't do with it, those are some of the choices we make. But above and beyond all else, faithfulness to the Lord is fruitful to the end.
Amen.
Because when you give, you always receive.
Right, oh yes.
That's not just money, that's time.
Right, oh yes.
When I give faithfully to the Lord, my time, I have more time with my family. And I don't see how it happens as much as I work. And I still struggle with that because I know I have to provide for my family. 1 John 5, first 5 verses. We're going to go through these quickly. We'll be done. 1 John 5, verse 1 says, Whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God, and everyone that loveth him, that begat, loveth him also, that is begotten of him.
Amen.
Now, born of God. Do you believe?
Amen. Yes.
If you're born of God, isn't that testimony enough to say, Hallelujah, look at where I am now?
That's right. God.
Verse 2. Where was this verse when those people were making that calf? By this we know that we love the children of... By this we know that... Sorry, I'm getting... It's getting hard. We love the children of God when we love God and keep His commandments.
Amen.
There's a difference between easy and simple. You can have something easy and hard at the same time. Verse 3 says, For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous.
Amen.
Because He gave us peace.
Right.
Unless we're still looking forward to getting back into the world or ingesting or occupying our time with the things that we gave up on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
Verse 4, For whatsoever is born of God overcometh the world.
That's right.
And this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith.
Yes.
What a victory!
Amen.
Ha! Born of God. He said, I overcame the world. He's inside of me and you.
Yes.
We overcame the world, but not by us.
No.
Moses didn't lead the people out by himself. Verse 5. Who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Jesus is the Son of God?
Amen.
Can you believe enough to have enough faith to be faithful? To truly sit back for a minute and say, it's going to be okay because I know God knows my heart. He knows I try. Yeah, He knows I failed too.
Yes, sir.
He knows I failed. Last one. I don't know if I gave you this or not. Matthew 17, verse 21. Jesus just got done talking about the disciples' unbelief. He just got done talking about that grain of mustard seed, how you can move a mountain with that kind of faith. I noticed this verse, and it's important for the first time not too long ago. Howbeit this kind of faith right here, that mustard seed kind of faith that's going to move that mountain in your life, it don't come. It goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting.
Yep.
If you're looking forward to picking back up what you put down, how are you going to ever have room in your arms or room in your heart for the joy that God has to give back unto you?
Sure.
Lord, help me. It's been a good week. It's been a good month. And I'm thankful that He's given us this opportunity, this time of fasting, this time of prayer. And the results that we heard on Sunday, both services Sunday, were phenomenal. And I was thrilled, and I've been on a cloud ever since, just looking forward. I've stopped looking back,
Yeah. Amen. Yes, sir.
and
Ain't look back.
as He gives it to me, I'll pick back up what I fasted. And I've picked back up some of it, but there's some of it that I haven't touched, I still haven't touched. And that's up to God. I'm at a point where I need to focus on watching how He overcame the world,
Yes, sir.
watching how He's going to do it through us,
Oh, yes.
and help us to overcome the world. Because each little demon in our lives pokes and prods, tempts. Like I say it up there, that last 10 feet of that checkout line. Temptation. You give in that temptation when you see those road signs, hey, on special, $8.99 lobster shrimp. Or can you hold out and say, God's got something better on the other side? There you go.
Praise the Lord. Good word, brother. I really enjoyed that. And that's very, very, very important. Very good. Very good. Appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank